So we're going to do a quick spotlight session. I'm going to try and do one for some of the things that are on offer for, let me just show you this one, for the birthday bonanza. So, here we go. It's my birthday month this month. So for the next one, you've got a week, just under a week left. There is 55% off my online programs and workshops. So one of the first ones I'm going to very quickly talk about is the Huna, H-U-N-A workshop. Now, with regards to the Huna, I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what it is, what's included in the one-day workshop, and it's an on-demand workshop. So that means once you purchase, you get immediate access. I'll give you a little bit of an overview, share with you some of the results that clients have had. I'm also going to answer the question about, does it all work, even if you're doing it remotely? And I'm also going to address the issue about, is it the placebo effect in terms of the power of the symbols? So let's get straight to it. Now, you've got the going along across the bottom of the ticker tape, transformationstm.newsletter.com. Code is birthday 55. You'll know if you've entered the code, because when you get to the page, you'll see two sets of prices. The top bit, I hope you can see my cursor, will be crossed out, and you will then see what the price is. What's this one here? This is the Fearless Public Speaking Program, which is actually currently running live. So you'll see the, for example, the 697 is crossed off and it's 313.65 or 26.55 if you wanted to do it on a monthly basis. So you'll know you've entered the code if you see the prices change and you see the strike through. Now, with regards to the Huna, it's one of those modalities that is absolutely a little bit mind-blowing. This, for example, was a quote from someone I'd met at a conference. It was the TCCHE conference, the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution. And he had just flown in from Japan, came straight to the conference because it's an international event. It's absolutely fantastic. If you've ever been, you will know what I mean. And he wasn't sure that he would have the energy to stay for the evening to watch the film. So I was just leaving on my way back to the hotel to get changed to go out to the speaker dinner. But I said, would you like a blast of Huna? And he had no idea what that was. And I said, oh, don't worry about it. I said, it's just an energy boost. And he said, okay. So we're standing in the room, hundreds of people milling about us. I did a quick, probably did a minute and a half. And he looked at me and he's like, Huna is better than Starbucks. Huna is better than Red Bull. And I saw him, of course, throughout the event because I'm the MC and host for the event. And I would see him and he'd be like, yeah, still good. Yes, still good. So one of the things I often say, they used to, well, it probably still run, but when I was growing up, there was an advert from a company called Heineken. They do beer. And their strapline was, Heineken refreshes the parts that other beers cannot reach. And I say that Huna, for me, has been similar in terms of energy modality. So it is pretty cool. So let's see, where do I want to start with this one? Let me just, okay, we're going to start here. So this was from one of the Huna workshops where I was asking people, can you just think of 5 words that would describe it? So someone said inspiring, healing, motivating, and fulfilling. Wonderful. I then went through some of those forms and I said to people, okay, what would you say? Energetic, exciteful, inciting, revealing, practical, magical, unmissable, clearing, comprehensive, excellent, leaving people feeling resourceful. So it always gets a really, really fantastic reception. Now, in terms of some of the things you can expect, so for example, I use Huna on my photo reading workshops. It's not part of photo reading. However, I do it as a free bonus session at the end of the first day. The reason I do that is I know that it sets people up very nicely to be able to integrate and take on board and apply everything we're doing on day 2 and day 3 of the workshop. So the bonus session is just under an hour. So I spend about 10-15 minutes explaining what Huna is, how it works, give people a little demo of the symbols. And then what I do is I just go around to each person very quickly for a minute or so. And I say, what would you like to work on? Do you want to, for example, speed things up, calm things down, open up your third eye, whatever it might be, more motivation, get your system into alignment. So they will tell me what it is they'd most like to focus on. And then I'll just do them a little Huna protocol. This was from one of the attendees. So I'll read it out just in case you're on a small device. So she says, talk about grabbing the bull by the horns. When you did the Huna healing on me, oh my God, I couldn't believe how accurate your diagnosis was. You didn't tell me you were a doctor as well as everything else. And this was, some of you might know Parvinder Wahiwala, Suki's wife. She was there with her children. And what I didn't know also is that one of her children, her daughters, had hurt her shoulder. They've got some very large guard dogs. So daughter was taking the dog out for a walk. It was on the leash. It saw something, it pulled, and it kind of yanked the shoulder. I didn't know any of that. So I'm going round in the room, said to the daughter, what would you like to work on? She told me, and I just felt, because I'm standing behind her, I normally have the lights off. It's in the evening, so it's often quite dark, and people normally just sit with their eyes closed, and I was actually standing behind her, so she wouldn't really have seen what I was doing anyway. And I just felt that I wanted to do some work on her shoulder, so I'm working on the shoulder, don't know why. And then at the end, at the debrief, the daughter says, well, my shoulder's feeling a lot better. And then she explained what had happened with the dog, for example. But it's always quite profound in terms of the impact that it has, even just for a few minutes. And talking of just for a few minutes, let me show you this one. So this is from the TCCHE. They've actually changed the way the screen is laid out. I'm just going to click a few buttons. I don't like what I'm seeing. That's a bit better. But they've got some new options. But what it's doing is it's cutting off half of the slide that's next to you. But I'll leave it here for now. That's a little bit better. So in terms of the impact. Now, the way this one happened, it was not planned. I was just stepping on stage. There are 3 or 4 steps up to the stage. So I put my foot on the first step. The person who actually organizes the whole event, Richard, came running up, tapped me on the shoulder and says, so I immediately looked to the back of the room. I was like, oh my God, is the speaker? The speaker was there. I briefed them, got them mic'd up. And I thought, okay, speaker's still there. So whatever's going on isn't going to affect the running of the event. So I get off, I turn around and say, what's going on? And Richard said, and this was at the time of the Grenfell Towers disaster, Richard said, I've just found out the people from Grenfell are downstairs. Before we do, and I think I was just about to introduce, Lynn McTaggart. So he said, before you introduce Lynn, could you just say a few words or do a quick meditation or something? So I'm actually, like, my foot is pretty much on the stage. Everybody's looking because they're waiting for me to walk on. Like, okay, what's going on? So in the time it took me to walk up the 3 steps and do the 10 steps across to the center of the stage, it's a big stage. There's like 550 people in the room. And that's not because there's only 550 people there. That was the maximum capacity of the room. So in the time it takes me to walk on stage, walk to the center, face the audience, I then had to come up with something that I was going to do. And I thought, yeah, I could say a few words. However, my other brain, as I called it, was like, why don't we just do some Huna? So I explained to everyone, and there are people, it's international, so many people wouldn't perhaps have known what Grenfell was, but I said, there was a fire in a tower block. Some of the survivors and the families are in the room beneath us. So is it okay if we just have a couple of minutes? I just do some energy clearing, and you can receive that as well if you choose to. So for those who gave permission, great. So I then just, no more than 5 minutes. People had no idea what I was doing. So I do that. I introduce Lynn. After that, for the rest of the conference, and I was there for another 3 days, I could not walk 2 steps without somebody coming up saying, oh my God, you are not going to believe what happened when you started doing whatever it is you were doing. And then they go on to recount. There's one guy that I met on the train on the way back at the end of the last day, and he said, it's you, isn't it? I said, depends what I've done. And he says, you're the woman who was on stage waving her hands about. And I went, oh yeah, that was me. And he says, when you started that, I was like, what on earth is this? He said, then suddenly, because he said he was silly enough, his words, not mine. He said, I was silly enough to move house, or try to move house, before I came to the conference. He said he put his back out. And he said, as soon as I started waving my hands about, as he called it, he suddenly felt all the tension and the pain releasing, which was, for him, it was just like, what is going on here? I'm just going to read you a couple of these on the screen. So one of them says, and these were from people who were just stopping me to share. One of them says, thank you so much for everything. The Huna, and how beautifully you held the energy of the room and managed everything. And one of the things that I did do is I used Huna to help set up the room as well. And it's really interesting that people notice, and they would almost put into words what I had done in terms of the energetic room setup, which was very interesting. Another says, I attended the 4-day TCCHE event a couple of weeks ago because people were emailing me after the event. And although I found the speakers fascinating, your Huna work had the most profound effect on me. And there was someone else when, as I said, didn't matter where I went, people were stopping me. So I was in the toilet. The woman in the next cubicle was shouting over the top, and she was saying, you know, I spoke to her at the event in the ladies, and she was talking about how she felt the energy moving around her. And what was really interesting because I'd had this experience, of course, many times before, one of the things that was happening, the same as it has done when people have been listening to recordings when I haven't even been there live, they're just listening to a replay, they were describing what I was doing without knowing what I was doing. So someone said, oh gosh, when you started, I almost felt like there was a waterfall. They had no idea that I'd invoked a water symbol, for example. There was another where I did the cloak of light, and people saying, oh, at some point I just felt this real, like somebody was hugging me. They had no idea that that even existed. So it was very interesting to see that happening, and everyone having their own individual experience of the Huna, which is one of the things I absolutely love about it. Let me come on. I'm going to answer the question about, does it work remotely? So this is from one of my lovely clients in Australia, the wonderful Pippa Neve, pippaneve.com, for those who want to check her out. And many years ago, when I'm kind of testing stuff out and experimenting, I normally go to my e-newsletter list and I say, look, I'm looking for some volunteers. You can do this for free, or a reduced price, depending on what it is, but often free. In return, I really want your honest feedback. And so people are like, yeah, sure. So Pippa was one of those people. Pippa is in Australia. I'm in the United Kingdom. Because of the time difference, Pippa wasn't there live. And this was also, it says MP3. This was also in the days of audio recording. So it's not that Pippa saw me doing a particular symbol. And even if she was looking, unless you've trained in Huna, you probably won't know what I'm doing anyway. It wasn't that she saw me doing a particular symbol. She was listening to an audio recording after the fact because she wasn't there live. And I'm going to read you some of what Pippa said. She says, initially, as when I started the Huna, my third eye, throat and heart center and solar plexus all felt compressed, and it was uncomfortable to say the least. After the first round of Huna, I sensed the image of a triangle of fire. Now, at the time I received this email from Pippa, I was like, oh, fantastic, amazing, wonderful, wonderful, brilliant. Thank you so much. Love that, love that. It was several years later when I was running an online program. I think it was a money breakthrough program. And I'm, because people saying, well, what if I can't make it live? Will it still work? Will I still get the benefit? And I was like, yeah, it will. Calm down. I use this as the example to just show what happens if you're not there live, but you're listening to recording. It wasn't until I was reading, I was like, and then it suddenly hit me. It's like, oh my God, Pippa is describing exactly what I was doing without knowing what I was doing. So she says, it's got goosebumps now. She says, initially my third eye and my throat and my heart center, they felt compressed. She had no idea that at the start of that process, I don't say what I'm doing. All you will hear is, that's it. And even somebody who does Huna, because we all do it differently, we use our breath at a different rate, they probably would have no idea what I just did if they were listening to the recording. What I realized is that I opened with a symbol, the literal translation, thunder comes down and strikes the earth and makes the earth shake. There are people who are sensitive to energy that experience that as an energetic pushback. And so that feeling of compressed, what I then did is I used the triangle of fire to burn away the embers of that. Let me just see. Oh, hold on. Let me. Oh, I haven't got them in the these are the Huna symbols. I'm just gonna. That's not the one I'm looking for. That's a good one. Oh, they're all good ones. I'm going to show you the. But again, Pippa was just listening. Oh, this is. We're going to come to this one. So while I'm on this one, there is a point at the end where Pippa says that she felt things opening up, and as if the light of my soul is now able to shine through my heart center. That's the symbol I used at the point where Pippa was describing in that middle paragraph. It was just uncanny. It was just like, you've got to be kidding me here. So this one, let's just what I was looking for. So that's the red triangle of fire. So Pippa saying she sensed an image of a triangle of fire. That's exactly what I was using. So she then says, during and after the second round, I felt the pain being drawn out of my body by my heart center. At that point in the process, I used a symbol to open up the space. And then I did something that we do in the soul plan readings, where I'm using sword fingers, as they call it. Oh, cool. I'm using sword fingers, as I call it, to draw the energy out. She then slowly began to feel lighter. My heart center opened up more than previously, and I felt like I was glowing from the inside out. As I'm typing this, the phrase, as if the light of my soul is now able to shine through my heart center, comes to mind. The third round gave me a sense of my heart center expanding into the universe, and I have a sense of feeling more open, clearing the blocks. Seriously, it wasn't years later when I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, it's even more profound than I thought. So you're gonna, now that was just a very short MP3. I think it was about 30 minutes or something. What I'm talking about here with the birthday offer, where you save 55%, it's a 1-day workshop. It is absolutely amazing. Now, there are times where, now this is, some of you know Lackloy. Lack was recommended by a friend and a client of mine, where I'd done some Huna with the client, and they were just blown away. And so they told Lack about it. And Lack had said he was blocked with getting new contracts, getting new work. We did some Huna over the phone. And it just so happened I was at something called the London Yes Group, something called the London Yes Group that week as well. So in the corner, we just did a couple of minutes of Huna, but essentially we did it over the phone. He got a new contract straight after that, after 9 months of nothing. And I've had that happen several times with clients where we've done the Huna session, either online or by phone. And I remember I did it with one of the people who was in my online membership group. So we did the Huna session. I think it was 2 days later, I get a message from her via Facebook saying, Marilyn, I've got a problem. I was like, okay. So I then, go into Messenger, and then she carries on typing. She says, because she again had been out of work, as it turns out, for 9 months. I don't know what it is about number 9. Completion, actually. It's a sign of completion. Anyway, so she then says, Marilyn, I've not been offered 1 job. I've been offered 2 jobs. My problem is I've now got to choose. So it's very cool. So Lack's saying here, I hear it a lot, you're not going to believe this. So he says, you're not going to believe this. I knew there was a block. Now it's gone. You have an amazing ability. And, of course, gave me permission to share this and use his name. So when I name people, it's because they've given me permission to do so. So it can be incredible. As I said, works in very mysterious ways. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, well, Marilyn, are people just imagining this? No. My sister's messaging me, but I'm live. I'm good. I'm good. If you're watching this on the live, I'm good. I'll message you in a minute. So you might go, well, maybe people believe it and it's the placebo effect. So I'm just going to share with you this kind of quick story about the dolphins. So this was when I was on a Caribbean cruise. They had semi-wild dolphins. I say semi-wild because it was open. So the dolphins could go out into the ocean, swim, do whatever they wanted to do, but they knew when it was feeding time and playtime, so they would come back. So this is my dolphin. And at breakfast, I've been sitting with a couple, and they were saying to me, what do you do? And I said, energy, and I'm a coach, and I'm a therapist. And they said, oh, we do Reiki. And I said, oh my gosh, I did Reiki training years ago. I use something nowadays called Huna, Huna, similar. I was talking about it, and then we just start talking about animals and how they might respond to energy. So I said, you know what, I'm booked to go on the dolphin trip this afternoon. I'm going to do some Huna and just see what happens. Like, yeah, cool, report back. So I arrive. There were either 3 or 4 groups, and there were 5. Yeah, there were 4, and there were 5 people in each group. So there's a group there. My group was like the second group, and then we have 3rd group, 4th group. So we're all in the water, and the handler is telling you what to do and how to behave and what not to do and da 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 da. So while she's talking, dolphins are swimming about. And I then, she's, she said, this is a dolphin we'll be working with today, and points the dolphin out. So I then decide I'm going to send the dolphin some Huna. So I start sending the Huna to the dolphin. About a minute later, the dolphin comes bombing over and puts it, I don't know, what's it called? Is it called a snout? I don't know. Let's go with snout for now. Somebody, I'm sure, will correct me. So it puts the snout into my stomach and just stays there. The handler kind of looks shocked and doesn't know what to do. And she's like, oh, and I said, it's fine, it's fine. I just sort of said, I have a way with animals. And so I said, carry on. She said, are you okay? I said, absolutely fine. So I carry on doing the Huna. And then the dolphin lies long ways and is resting on my stomach. So now I'm like, might as well stroke the dolphin. So I start stroking the dolphin. I'm saying to the dolphin, is this okay? And whatever. And I'm doing all this. The handler then says, oh my God, the dolphins never let anyone really play with them like that. Sometimes we can't even do that. And I just smiled and I nodded. So everybody's now like, well, what's going on here? And the handler's getting a little bit stressed because I can see this is not this is not going according to her plan. I just said, look, it's absolutely fine. Sometimes this happens with animals. Carry on. I kept having to say to her, carry on, carry on, carry on. We then get to the point where we're doing the photos. Now, I was second or third. I think I was third in line. And they tell you how it's going to go. So now all the handlers round up the dolphins and they take the dolphin to the first person, except for my group. The dolphin was going nowhere, would not move. So she said, okay, Marilyn, well, we'll start with you. No problem. So I go and I do the photo with the dolphin. We're having a good old chat. I get back into line and they try to get the dolphin now to go to the first person, second person, third person. Dolphin was going nowhere, would not move. So in the end, they had to abandon our group and we had to wait for one of the other groups to finish so we could borrow their dolphin, because my dolphin wasn't leaving my side. The handler was then starting to get a bit cross. So I said to her, look, I said, I didn't go into Huna and all of that sort of stuff. I just said, there are times where animals can get quite attached. They like the vibe, I think is how I put it. So I said, please don't be upset with the dolphin. Probably partly my fault as well, in terms of, creating the vibe and the energy that they really like. But she was just like losing her mind at one point, could not figure out why this dolphin just wanted to stay by my side like it was my best mate. So with regards to that, you could say, okay, for humans, you might go, oh, it was a placebo effect. I'm going to now have to beg to differ, because the dolphin is like, Huna, schmuna, whatever. The dolphin has no idea what it is I'm doing. So it made me smile. I always smile when I see that picture. I said to her before I left, again, I reiterate, please don't be cross with the dolphin. I'm sure this won't happen again. It's just one of those things where they like the vibe. So I do hope the dolphin didn't get a telling off that day, but she just couldn't understand what was going on. It just kind of freaked them out. So it is fantastic stuff. Now, yeah, I think I put it here. Just a very quick overview. Some of the things that we cover on the workshop, this is not an exhausted list, but it's just, I just pulled these off of the old slides. So let me just turn this sound off because it's getting on my nerves a bit as well now. Bing, bing, bing. Hopefully that should shut it up, I think. So we're going to, of course, look at the Huna lineage and history. We will look at the power of words and the symbols. We're going to look at some of the Huna foundation pieces, the applications. We look at the assumptions of Huna magic, always a very fascinating one. There'll be some experiential exercises where you get to experience the power of the Huna symbols. We'll do some energy clearing. We do an introduction to Ho'oponopono, and I call it the version that goes beyond the words. And it's the full-on version of Ho'oponopono where we're doing the Avaiku and the stage and the Arca connections. There's the waking meditation, there's the fire ahi ritual. We're going to look at the symbols, give you a little bit more meaning behind those, look at some of the things that you can do with regards to Huna, how you can use it for self-empowerment. So there's quite a lot that we tend to cover. In terms of the workshop, one of the things in terms of my intention for the workshop is about sharing kind of Huna, some of the self-empowerment techniques. It's about introducing you to elements that you can actually use for yourself. It's about giving you an experience and, call it an experiential for the Huna magic, and also creating energetic shifts and changes. Now, one of the things that we are always saying, and I'll reiterate it here, and of course it's in the actual one-day workshop itself, is asking also that people agree that they will not represent themselves beyond the level to which they have been taught. So this isn't a Huna practitioner where you go out and use it for other people, with other people. A bit like Reiki. When you do Reiki level 1, and that is for self-use. And then when you do level 2, that's where you start working with other people. Very similar in terms of Huna. When you do the full-on practitioner, when I did the Huna course, it was 2 weeks. And this is 1 day. So I'm not attempting to teach you all of Huna. It's an introduction, and it's an introduction for self-use rather than running around going, hey, I'm a Huna practitioner. It's not that. So that's one of the agreements, I have people make when we start, that you're not going to represent yourself beyond the level of your teaching. We'll also, of course, look at the Huna symbols. This is the one, the thunder comes down and strikes the earth and makes the earth shake. So you'll get a look at some of the Huna symbols as well as we go through, and just some of the ways that people have used it. Now, this was actually the person who recommended Lacloy. He used to teach NLP practitioner trainings, a master practitioner. Probably still does, actually. I know he was doing a lot of it online. And he invited me down just to do a 45-minute, 60-minute segment on Huna. And I kind of got a message from one of the attendees who then came and did the one-day Huna workshop. But he said, thank you for the most inspirational few hours of my life. It's really profound. And on that particular training, because I ran the Huna workshop for that group, because there were a group of people who wanted to do it. So I organized the workshop and they came to Watford to attend. They all said that they felt called. They said, I don't even really know why I'm here. I just felt a calling. And then as we started doing the workshop, they all said they felt as though they'd come home. And that was really interesting for them to put it that way, because one of the things that it says in the old Huna scrolls that I saw when I was out in Hawaii, it says those who are meant to, to teach Huna or to know Huna in this lifetime will find it. So it's something that often resonates, and people aren't quite sure why, but when they do come to it, it's like, oh my God. So one of the things I'm going to say is watch this space. I have set up, it's called, the platform I'm using is called Exposure. So I've set up an exposure page, and what I'm going to do is a little spotlight for some of the workshops. So I'm just starting to fill out the one about photo reading, because the online photo reading is included in the birthday bonus as well. And I'll add a few more. So might do one on the healing heartbreak, for example. That's an audio program that's included as well. What else we got on there? We got the one-day MBS, Mind, Body, Spirit, Energy Festival, one-day online version of that. That's on there as well. Practitioner Insider Secrets is on there. So I'm not going to do all of them, but I'll spotlight a few just so you get a sense of what it is. But once you're on the site, put the coupon code in, birthday 55. And then when you hit the enrolling course, you add the coupon code, it will change the pricing for you. But if you've got any questions, if you've got any queries, let me know. You can put them in the comments, or you can send me a DM, direct message, and I'll answer those for you. But yes, if you're interested in the yummy Huna self-empowerment and some of the incredible things and want to experience some of that for yourself, then I would definitely say this is the program for you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you know someone who could benefit from this or any of the other programs or on the Zenler site, then feel free to share this with them. I'll say it again, just in case any of you are just listening to this rather than watching. You'll find the offers on the Zenler site. So it's and it's going across the ticker tape for those who are watching, www.transformationstm.newzenler.com. Trance, TRANCE, F for Freddy, so FORMATIONS, so transformationstm.newzenler, Z or ZENLER.com. But birthday code is birthday 55. That's valid until the 17th of May stroke the 18th, depending on your time zone, 2023. So if you're watching this outside of that going, hey, the code doesn't work, where's my 55% off? I'm sorry, you have missed it. And you can keep an eye on the things that are going on. Easiest way is just to sign up to my e-newsletter. Go to the main website, transformationstm.com. Top left somewhere, you will see a box for you to sign up via MailChimp. That's the easiest way to do it. And in terms of stuff that's happening in real time, maybe quite dynamic, doesn't necessarily make it into the e-newsletter, there's a red button on both my sites. The blog, marilyndevonish.com is the blog, a red button that says what's new. Click that, a panel will slide out, and then there'll be an update, a link to whatever it is. So actually I'll add a link to the exposure blog to that, so you can click through there. And then what I'm doing is adding all the links with the code already built into it. So you just press that code and it does the price adjustment for you and reduces it by 55%. What I'll do is I'll add one of those. I'll add the one for the Huna, for example, in the comments of this video as well. So you can just click straight through to that, and it applies to everything that's on the Zenler site. Cool. And I've just earlier on did a video about the photo reading. So you can check that one out, scroll down my page. I'll put it on YouTube as well. So you can check that out if you want to know a little bit more about the photo reading, the online photo reading. One other thing. For those of you who have booked to attend the in-person photo reading workshop this year, the 2023 photo reading workshop, which will be in the autumn, what I'm also doing is running, just so you don't have to wait that long, I'm running a hybrid online version. Let me explain what that means. It's pre-recorded. It's the very first one that I did that just blew people's minds. And I'm going to be there live in the chat. And if I want to, I can also pause the video and come on camera as well. So it's going to be a live hybrid. So the questions that people are asking on the workshop, all of those will be appearing as and when I answer them, and I'll be answering them on the video as well. And it means you can use the live chat, put your questions in as you're working through the photo reading material, and I can answer your questions in real time. So that looks set to be happening 2nd to the 4th of June this year. And so yeah, if you've already booked to attend the in-person workshop, it's a free bonus. No need to book, no need to register. I will add you to the platform. And if you're purchasing during the birthday bonus time, what I'll do, if you're purchasing the photo reading workshop, that is, the online photo reading workshop, what I'll do is I'll send you an invite if you want to attend the live hybrid as well, because it means that you can get your individual questions answered also and have that real-time interaction. So more about that. I haven't launched it yet. I'm just setting up the automations and the page now, just testing that it all works. So that will be launched in the next couple of days. But if you're already attending the in-person workshop this year, you get that as a free bonus, as a nice starter and a warm-up for being in the room. So you'll get a double whammy this year. And it's going to be interesting actually to see how it impacts people's performance, having done the online and then coming to the in-person. So that would be very cool. Alrighty, I shall leave it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it. Marilyn Devonish, the Neuro Success Coach, over and out.